Which organ produces bile? Liver. It helps digest fats and remove toxins from the body. Which tissue connects bone to bone? Ligament. It stabilizes joints and prevents excessive movement. Which blood cells fight infection? Leukocytes. They identify and attack bacteria and viruses. Which hormone regulates water balance? Antidiuretic. Produced in the brain's hypothalamus and released by the pituitary gland, signals the kidneys to reabsorb more water, reducing urine production and conserving body fluid. What is the name of the skin's outer layer? Epidermis. It provides a protective barrier and prevents fluid loss. Which part of the eye controls light entry? Iris. It adjusts the pupil size to regulate vision clarity. Which organ filters blood to remove waste? Kidney. They filter blood through tiny units called nephrons, removing waste and excess water, sending urine to the bladder, and returning clean blood to the body. Which joint connects the upper arm to the shoulder blade? Glenohumeral. It's a ball-and-socket joint, where the rounded head of the humerus fits into the shallow socket of the scapula, called the glenoid cavity, allowing for a wide range of motion. Which hormone triggers labor contractions? Oxytocin. It stimulates uterine muscles and milk release in mammals. Which nerve controls diaphragm movement? Phrenic. It is the only nerve that provides the primary motor supply to the diaphragm, the major muscle of respiration. Which bone forms the forehead? Frontal. It protects the brain and supports facial structure. Which gland releases epinephrine? Adrenal. These glands sit atop the kidneys. They prepare the body for fight or flight by increasing heart rate, blood pressure, and energy supply. Which blood vessels carry blood to the heart? Veins. They transport deoxygenated blood from the body's tissues back to the heart, where it is sent to the lungs for oxygenation. Which organ stores bile before digestion? Gallbladder. Bile is produced by the liver, but when it is not immediately needed for digestion after a meal, it is stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. Which structure prevents food from entering the windpipe? Epiglottis. It closes during swallowing to protect the airway. Which tissue cushions joints? Cartilage. It absorbs shock and reduces friction in movement. Which hormone increases blood calcium when levels are low? Parathyroid. This hormone acts on the bones, kidneys, and intestines to raise calcium levels and keep them in balance. Which organ produces digestive enzymes? Pancreas. It secretes powerful enzymes that break down carbohydrates, proteins, and fats into smaller molecules for absorption. Which blood component transports oxygen? erythrocytes. They contain a protein called hemoglobin, which binds to oxygen in the lungs and releases it to the tissues and organs as needed. Which muscle separates the chest from the abdomen? Diaphragm. It is the primary muscle of respiration, contracting to allow inhalation and relaxing to help exhalation. Which organ stores red blood cells? Spleen. Acting as a reservoir that can hold a significant portion of the body's red blood cells. Also filters blood to remove old or damaged red blood cells, and can contract to release stored blood into circulation during emergencies like hemorrhage. Which structure connects muscles to bones? Tendon. They are tough, flexible, fibrous connective tissues that transmit the force of muscle contractions to the bones, allowing for movement and providing stability to the body. Which organ detoxifies chemicals and metabolizes drugs? Liver. It converts toxins into waste products and transforms medications into forms that can be excreted by the kidneys or in the feces. Which nerve senses facial sensations? Trigeminal. It is responsible for sensing touch, pain, and temperature. This is the fifth cranial nerve, and it divides into three branches: the ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular nerves, each responsible for sensory input from different areas of the head. Which organ produces bile salts? Liver. Bile is a fluid containing bile salts, which are essential for the digestion and absorption of fats, and it is then either stored in the gallbladder or directly released into the small intestine to aid digestion.